Hey there, everybody. It's meteorologist Jamie Singleton. Sorry about a little technical difficulty earlier. My Restream software is sending this out to about 10 different platforms at once, and so there's always a little bit of technical difficulty when I have to push something out pretty fast. I want to alert you to some very heavy rainfall that continues over the area. We've seen, the concern today earlier were strong thunderstorms. That is now morphed into a flash flooding threat. And that is right now in Southside Virginia. Franklin County still under a flash flood warning now until 9:30. And you can see it's in this area east of Rocky Mount. But the area I'm really concerned about now for the rest of tonight is going to be from Lynchburg and Rocky Mount and say Floyd and Galax south into this area here all the way down to I-40, Southside Virginia, South Central Virginia. Now this is an area that has been a little drier today, but the front that's moving in right now is slowing down. And so what we're seeing are repeated areas of rain developing over the same areas, moving up to the north and to the east. And what's happening is they're training. So you get one cell, you get another cell, you get another cell, and activity just continues pouring over the same areas. And these are rainfall rates that are up around 5 inches an hour. So this is nothing to take lightly here. We've already had earlier some flooding on the Virginia Tech campus around the Blacksburg area. I'm looking at a local storm report. Now this was earlier. This was only halfway through this event. We had multiple roads closed around Virginia Tech. Duck Pond and Strubles Creek flooded when they had up to 3 inches. And actually, I think the official report from the Weather Service was 3.45 inches of rain in under 45 minutes. So these are tremendous rainfall rates. Now, it is lightening back up here a little bit to the north, and that is some good news. So we've got numerous flood advisories in effect. We now have a special weather statement that's in effect for Southside. Let's put the radar in motion. And you can see the activity now moving in the Gretna and Alta Vista. And again, it won't be long before our attention is going to turn to Southside. I think some of the latest computer models showing another 3 to 4 inches of rain south of the Virginia state line overnight tonight. Everything tapers off early in the morning. But the morning commute could be dicey, and if you have any plans to be traveling out there, I can tell you just about every ditch in Franklin County is overflowing at the moment. If we were saturated when this moved in today, we would really be in bad shape. Luckily, the ground's fairly dry. But I'm going to tell you something. When it rains, like it's raining right now, it does not matter because the ground can't absorb it. Amanda Tier sent me a video from the Rocky Mount Burger Company on Franklin Street in Rocky Mount near the market. It was like a river down there, and that's because, of course, pavement doesn't absorb any rain. And that's the lowest spot in the town, and all that water collects there in a real big hurry. And so that's why we now have a flash flood warning. We had a flood advisory that's still in effect, but now a flash flood warning in effect for Rocky Mount, Eastern Franklin County as well. So let's start you off with the current view. We're going to zoom on into this conglomerate of storms here, just some real messy stuff. A lot of lightning still coming out of these storms as well. That's also a danger. But reading the special weather statement here, you can see it there on your screen. We've got 30 miles an hour to 40 mile per hour winds possible. My main concern is, again, the heavier rainfall. But you're going to see some gusty wind in here as well. Martinsville, Alta Vista, Hurt, Chatham, Gretna, Axton, and Pinhook. Yeah, and it's going to be really hard to drive. It makes it almost impossible to drive at kind of rain where, it's like somebody just taking a bucket, 5-gallon bucket, and pouring it out on your windshield. That's the type of rain we're looking at here. And so this is going to flood ditches and low spots from Gretna down 29 and right along 40. I can guarantee there's probably also some high water. I saw some in on the way into the station. I've been out of the home office today, giving the National Weather Service this report. We heard a report of a tree down on Webster Road and Poplar Creek Road. That was earlier today. And again, that's when we were already seeing some flooding, but then the second wave of low pressure developed. So let me zoom it out here. You can see that upstream, that low is being analyzed by the Weather Prediction Center north of Asheville, North Carolina. So we put this in motion, and you get the idea. Let's see if it'll load up there for me. There we go. You can see these ripples that are occurring. So here's one low. It's right in through here. So I'm going to draw it. That's one low. We've got another low down here. Anywhere you see that kind of leaf look north of the strongest storms, that is a counterclockwise spin that's adding what we call a leaf to the atmosphere on the radar image, and it's a sign that we've got more activity upstream. And I think through at least 9 to 10 o'clock, this area is going to see a lot more in the way of rain. I'm not as concerned, even though it's still raining, I'm not as concerned about the Roanoke Valley per se, although there's probably some high water in Roanoke right now, but that's going to be running off, and we're going to be seeing some lighter activity that's actually going to be able to soak into the ground as the night wears on. But it's this stuff that's just pouring it down right here, and not to be left out, Farmville to Charlotte Courthouse in the Crew, seeing a whole lot of rain, a whole lot of lightning as well. And now we're in northern Halifax County with a strong storm over Volans, which is where the radar used to be back in the old days. We've also got that activity around Callens, and you can see all the lightning occurring there into Henry County. Watch Bassett, because this is an area that could experience flooding. There are so-called tender spots out there, and that's where you deal with a lot of flood issues if things happen just right. And it's one of those nights where things are happening just right in terms of total rainfall. So let's see, I wanted to show you some graphics here. I'm going to pull up my WSV3. Now I've got this thing cranking today. This is pretty much doing all I can get it to do. The memory on this system is maxed out, even on the computer system I have. But this is, again, a look at the rainfall, and you can see the flash flood warnings there in the polygons. I'm going to zoom it out here. I'm going to take the radar picture off temporarily, and I'm also going to take off the MRMS data. So these blue areas are where we're seeing flood advisories. So much of the NRV here along the I-77 corridor here from Wytheville down to Mount Airy almost, and into Pulaski and Radford, Blacksburg and Christiansburg especially, dealing with some very heavy rainfall, and a flash flood warning and a flood advisory both in effect, giving us that green color there. That extends down through Marion, Galax, and I'm not going to read these individually, but from Galax all the way down through Boone, where we've had some flooding reported there. It's just not safe to be on the roads in low spots this evening. Water's just running off way too fast for anybody to be able to handle. Now moving off to the east, Lynchburg, Timberlake, and going through Campbell County, again down 29, and also in the Brookneal, Keysville, Halifax, and South Boston. These are other flood advisories that are in effect as well in the light blue areas. And you can see the live lightning on your screen because we're still seeing heavier downpours out there. Now they're tapering off just a little bit compared to what we had earlier, but as this MRMS data will update here in just a second, you're going to see some pretty high rainfall rates in here. So what I'm going to do is back it up a little bit. Let's see if we can't see one of these images from before, if it'll load for me. Well, go ahead and analyze right now. We're looking at rainfall on the order of 4.8, 4.6, 4.8 inches an hour. And with that cell in Halifax County, it's 4.2 inches of rain an hour. Near Alta Vista, you've got rain coming down on the order of 3 inches per hour. Now, how do we know that? We use science. We use the radar beam, and we look at the phase difference between the horizontal and the vertical. And the more horizontal phase difference, the more heavy rain and water quantities in the air. And we can calculate that with our algorithms out through time and give you an estimation of how much rain is falling per hour in some of these cells. And again, they are way up there because the air is just so humid. This is why it doesn't matter if the ground's dry or not, because down through Bassett, down through Henry County and eastern Franklin County, the rates have diminished a lot here. We're under 1/4 of an inch an hour now at the TV station. But not long ago, we were at about 4.5 inches an hour. That's now moved into Pittsylvania County. Wouldn't surprise me to see some flooding issues around Pittsylvania County as well. And then you can see that activity again going into Southside Virginia, Halifax, and South Boston. That's why the flood advisories are up, because this is going to continue to update as it goes away and comes back. We're going to continue to get new data from each radar scan. But just tremendous on 501 there. That is a lot of rain. That's, again, it's like having a bucket being poured down on you. And that's just why, water has nowhere else to go, even on the ground, and especially when it's dry. The ground's actually harder, so the ground kind of acts like pavement, and you can get that to happen. Let me expand the view out here again. We're going to put the NextRad stuff back on, and I'm going to go to level 3 data here. That's going to pop up on the screen. So I'm going to give you kind of an overall look at what's happening here, and we'll loop this from the past 4 hours or so. We're going to let this load. Make sure I've got my other layers turned off here so I'm not doing too much. It's just amazing to see how these storms really they slow down. And a lot of times what we see in a storm system like this, when it's hot and humid and a cold front's moving into it, is we see a big line of storms take all the energy away in about 2 hours time, and then it moves east, and that's the end of story. But what's happening is the upper energy is still off to the west this time. And we look at the upper levels, and it's important because of this stuff. It can stall the front, and that's what's happened. The front is now a stationary front. Now, it will pick up steam again tomorrow, but it's way off to the west. And what happens when you stall the front is you get these tiny areas of low pressure to continually move in and fill the area up with these bands of rain, but also areas of very heavy rain. So it looks like I can go back about an hour on this imagery, so we'll keep it there. So you can see that even though the Allegheny Highlands, for instance, this area relatively dry for right now, you've got some light to moderate rain. That's a good sleeping weather rain, to be honest with you, and that's the kind of rain we like to see because that actually gets down into the ground. Although this area has seen its fair share of rainfall, so it's not necessarily a good thing in terms of just adding to the water out there. But, a lot of these areas, especially across Southside, have been very dry. I've had a lot of people emailing me and contacting me on Facebook and whatever saying, we missed out on that rain a couple of weeks ago. And we did in many backyards, especially at my house. What's happening in these isolated communities, though, and now what's happening with this training, kind of a fire hose of storms that continue moving in, is we're making up for that in about 1 to 2 hours time, and that's just too much too fast. I don't think we're out of the woods, though, and again, I'm alerting folks in Southside from Danville down in the South Boston Charlotte Courthouse. This area concerns me north of Hickory and the Boone, North Carolina. This is an area that is already, just because of the topography, it's very, very susceptible to flooding and flash flooding. And so when you get very, very heavy rain, I just added the topography as I was talking to about that point. But as you add these heavy storms onto what's already happened, you're going to be dealing with some flooding in northwest North Carolina tonight, where flood advisories are already in effect. That's heading toward Mount Airy. And we look at the radar a lot to get these trends. So if you look at the trend here, if you look right in that area, get my telestrator back on here, right in around the Boone area, you can see through Boone, Watauga County and into Wilkes County where the activity is actually starting to pick back up again. And again, I tell you, this isn't the kind of thing that's in and out of the area. It's one of those storm systems that's lingering because of the added upper energy. So if you take an area from Galax to Mount Airy, say you're traveling I-77, you think that rain's moving east, and it is, but there's so much more upstream. I'm not worried about it being severe. I don't think you're going to have anything over a few gusty winds and severe lightning strikes, which can be dangerous, don't get me wrong. But the big issue is going to be flash flooding tonight and flooding of those low spots. Now, the radar beam only goes out so far. This is off the Blacksburg radar, but I like to look at the edge too to get an idea. And you can see there's more moisture picking up on the far end of the radar beam. This is way up in the upper levels of the atmosphere because the Earth's curving underneath it. But it gives you an idea that things are far from being done with this system as it continues to move through the area. I'm going to try something here. We're going to look at the rainfall over the past 12 hours, if my system will let me do that. We'll take the NextRad data off. And while that loads, you get another look at the areas, again, much of the Mountain Empire. This is what I call the Mountain Empire under flood advisories. You get live lightning there on your screen. You've got little lows that are riding up here out of North Carolina. I know what I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you a look at the forecast as we go through the rest of tonight off the computer models. If you go to my Patreon page, patreon.com/Jamie Singleton, I've got a blog up. The latest blog shows where the potential for up to 3 to 4 inches of rain is. And I'll go ahead and give you a hint. It's in North Carolina and Southside. And that was posted at 6 o'clock this evening. And it certainly looks like that's going to develop because of all that heavier rain. This is a different color palette, but western Campbell County, Bedford County, Pennsylvania County. And Danville, you haven't seen much so far, but this could move into your area throughout the next couple of hours. We should see things diminish a little bit, but the now to 1 to 2 hours out period's the time to really take this seriously. Cabbage Creek's flooded in Ashe County, North Carolina. And I want to pop up here. Let's look at... I'll go to the Weather Prediction Center real quick while I'm thinking of the model to pull up here. These are the fronts that you're used to seeing on the weather map or whatever. Just want to show you how slow the system's moving and what we expect for the weekend. So into tonight, that front's still off to our west. It's still out there. The drier air is out here, but it's not going to be able to move in until this can get out of here. So even into midnight tonight, we're still dealing with areas of rain. Now, I think after 10 o'clock, things are going to quiet down somewhat. But I'd watch North Carolina very carefully and maybe even Southside because some heavier storms could still get going. And flash flooding is something that you don't want to mess with at night. Friday morning at 8 a.m., the Weather Prediction Center has this analyzed as FROPA, frontal passage. And that is a good thing because we've got the fireworks in Franklin County and Rocky Mount scheduled for Friday night. And I do think this area of high pressure here will be able to get on in here and scour out that moisture by around the lunchtime hour on Friday. But listen, if you're up early in the morning, some people are the first ones that are riding some of these back roads on your way to work or whatever. Be advised there's going to be some debris in the low spots, gravels, things of that nature, and there could even be some washed out roads because of the severity of this rain. But it ends tomorrow morning. By tomorrow afternoon, the front is on through the area. Can't rule out a couple of lingering showers, but by the evening, drier air moves in, that high pressure moves in. And look at the weekend. That's the good news. I won't be all doom and gloom on you here. As we go to the 4th of July, we've got a big area of high pressure, drier air, temperatures low to mid 80s for highs, and we'll be back into the 50s for lows. That's going to feel nice out there. And then by the time we go in the next week, I'm watching Elsa. Elsa's a tropical storm, not a character from a movie, but could be near the coast of Florida from the Gulf side here going into Tuesday into Wednesday and Thursday. And look at that, by next Thursday, what's left of Elsa could be in the Carolinas or at least eastern Georgia, moving north, perhaps into our area. That would be interesting after the rain that we've had today. That certainly would be very interesting to watch. So let's go here to the computer model. Now this is the latest THU model. So we'll zoom you into our area. Just to give you a point of reference here, this is the Roanoke, this is the Roanoke Valley area here. There's Roanoke. There's Danville, there's Winston-Salem and Greensboro. Okay, so let's go through time here and I'll show you what happens as we go through the next few hours. This is now, as we go through 9 o'clock, Danville starts to get hit by 9 o'clock tonight. And then after that, we see it taper off some, but that wave goes on through South Boston and into Charlotte Courthouse and South Central Virginia toward Mecklenburg County, South Hill. In Richmond, if I have anybody out there, you're going to get some more rain tonight as well. But notice all this other activity out here to the west. I don't want to forget this stuff because this is still going to have to get through the area before we totally clear out. So we put this into motion past 10 o'clock. There's 11, there's 12, there's midnight. We could see another wave, and I think this is what the models are concerned about, and this is what I'm a little bit concerned about. If we see a third wave develop tonight, it's probably going to be Henry County down into the Piedmont, western Piedmont of North Carolina. This area has the potential to see some big time flooding if these numbers verify off these models. Now, I say that, and I also want to alert you that we still are going to be dealing with a lot of rainfall, just not heavy rain, but light to moderate rain north of this third wave of low pressure as we move in through the Roanoke Valley and even into Franklin County. The big time rain will end at 10 p.m., but from 10 p.m. into the early morning hours, it's still going to rain, and it just won't be quite as heavy. But that could cause more in the way of river flooding, and certainly the rain, once it runs off the high water stuff, could be something that we want to watch there as well. Now, moving forward here, this is looking at 8Z, so this is 4 a.m., just a broad area of rain, but some of that's still pretty heavy around Lynchburg and Southside. Then this is tomorrow, so once the sun comes up past 8 a.m., we start to see that trend of clearing skies, one or two little showers behind it, 10 o'clock in the morning, and then the dry air moves in. Still have a couple of thunder showers popping up early in the afternoon for extreme southern reaches of the area, but that's about it. What I want to show you is the total precip accumulation off this model. This is the 23Z run. This is the current run, so this is additional rainfall off of the HUR model, and I haven't looked at this much, but we're going to look at it together here and see if I can zoom this in for you. I need to go to my Weather Bell account, but I'll use this. It does about the same thing. So again, I talked about Henry County. This is additional rainfall, potentially 4 inches, and in this area here, that's over 5 inches, 5.5 inches of rain. That's going into Stokes County, Rockingham County, Yadkin County, these areas of western Piedmont and North Carolina. This is a spot that I would watch through the overnight hours of tonight. Another quarter to half inch to as much as another inch of rain for Franklin County, and another couple of inches of rain possible for Lynchburg as well. But the tendency will be east of the Blue Ridge and southwest foothills. I'll call that Patrick County, Stewart, through North Carolina. Watch out for the possibility of much heavier rain to fall. Look at a different computer model. We'll look at the rapid update cycle. So this is a different model now. This takes us through 11, 12, early morning hours, much the same. You can see that heavier rain falling here. And if we look at the total forecast off that, I'm looking at trends here, and I still see a trend in North Carolina a little bit farther south of over 3 inches of rain, with up to 4 to 5 there near the Hampton Roads area near Wakefield. So that's something to keep in mind if you're watching from that area. We'll look at the high-res NAM. Now this is going to be a little bit old because the model was the 18Z, but this is where we are right now. As we go through time, we get a break, and then that second area around Asheville starts to move in around midnight tonight, and it rains some. It doesn't pour down until you get to Greensboro, Winston-Salem again, and that wave finally scoots east by 8 a.m. So total precip accumulation there, very streaky because it's got a lot of resolution to it. But in some of these bands here, you're looking at 5 to 6 inches of rain, and even if we get the convection, we could see 5 to 8 inches of rain around Winston-Salem, Greensboro, North Carolina. Now that's off the model, it's just the model, but it gives you an idea of the threat because we just looked at 3 different models, and they all look very similar in terms of that heavier rainfall out there. I'm going to now look at a 4th model just to see. And that hasn't been updated on this site, so we don't need it. We've looked at 3 models anyway. I'm going to look at your roads for you because I imagine that I don't have the scanner on at the moment, but there's probably some closed roads because of high water. So each one of these areas is an incident that we've got reported through VDOT. And I'm just going to read you a couple here. Route 609, we've got a vehicle crash there on 220 at Country Ridge Road. We've got another crash farther to the south here, closer into Henry County. So these aren't washed out roads, these are crashes that we're seeing. because more than likely it's hydroplaning that's causing all the issues when it rains really hard. And that's a look at Henry County right now. It starts to rain so hard that your wheels lose contact with the ground. In the Patrick County we go. Woolwine. We've got a road closed here, Route 616. All west lanes are closed. All east lanes are closed. That's Millhouse Road, Route 616 is closed from flooding. There are probably roads here that are closed that haven't been reported from VDOT. And again, if you're out traveling tonight, you could be the person that sees that road closure and has to call that in. So be very careful. Just be mindful of that. Pulaski County, we've got, let's see, Sandal Ridge Road, Route 1172 east and west. All lanes are closed here in Patrick County from a flood. And I don't see anything that's standing out to me just yet other than the crashes that we're seeing on 220 South because of all that rain that's coming down. But just be very, very careful. I-77 is a bad place to be, even on just a foggy day. You can see things are moving along okay right now, but they've got more rain on the way. So definitely, want to slow down and see. I've got something in Carroll County. We've got a vehicle crash there. More than likely, that's on 52. More than likely, that was also probably related to hydroplaning at some point. You can see the gusty winds. You can also see the very heavy rain here. This is on mile marker 10.6 on I-77. Still dealing with that very heavy rain. And believe it or not, we had some wind earlier with these storms. We've got a handful of power outages. We've got 3,019 without power across this entire AEP area. The highest amount in Pulaski County, and that's just at 110, but there are some people at 81 in Franklin County that are without power tonight, and that's always something you also get from flooding. I want to look at the last, see if I can get some precip estimates on here. And I'm going to go, I can do this on my GR Earth, so I'm going to go to, if I can get the iFlow stuff to come up. I think I'm going to have to go to Blacksburg's page. I'll go here just to show you, by the way. Blacksburg did put they extended a flash flood watch in effect for Roanoke. This is for the rest of tonight through the Allegheny Highlands, Botetourt County, Rockbridge County. Also includes Nelson County from the Sterling office. Includes Mount Airy all the way back here for flash flooding. This is the text of that. I'm going to pull that over here and let you look at this. You see that heavier rainfall still now moving in the Charlotte courthouse there. The flash flood watch read, through Friday morning, torrential rainfall rates producing flash flooding. Roads and underpasses may become quickly covered with fast-flowing water, say that 6 times fast, into the rest of tonight. So there you see it. I'm going to look up some precip amounts real quick off GR Earth, and then I'll sign off for the night. I believe my TikTok and Instagram already booted me off. Just looking at my lula there. That's why I stopped talking there. Let's see. GR Earth. There's the bigger picture. Let me shrink this back down because we were zoomed in on the COD site. Here's the trough that normally would be kicking in drier air, but the orientation of this thing is way back in through here. So if we had to draw where the trough was, you'd have to put it back through here. And it's positively tilted. If you follow meteorology, that's usually a weaker setup, but it's not moving very much because we've got other areas of energy that are digging in behind this. And so as I load this up, you can see that drier air is in yellow. It's just not moving east. And what you have instead is this area. And as I say that, speak to the point, we have more rain falling here at the TV station. So until this can get east, it's going to continue to rain and rain very heavily, especially for south side into North Carolina. Now as you go, let's see, we'll take the goes off, take the lines off, and go in through here. You see our radar still showing activity again upstream, but it's starting to weaken a little bit. We're going to, again, around midnight, we're going to see another wave of this move through. But over the past 12 hours, this is how much rain has fallen. So this is what I wanted to show you. These amounts are probably on the low side. We know that because radar underestimates this a lot of times. But we're showing upwards of 2 to 3 inches of rain here in the darker blue. You can see the hot spots north of Windy Gap, southeast Roanoke County around Back Creek, a lot of rain there. You can see from Rocky Mount right into the town all the way to Westlake Corner, over 2 to 3 inches of rain and still falling. Now this is the area again that's very concerning. Farmville, Blackstone, west of Blackstone, north of South Boston, but around Brookneal here we're showing already up to 3 to 4 inches of rain. That's probably closer to 5, just because the radar, again, it underestimates this. Western North Carolina, much the same. So those are the heaviest areas of rain, and you can see what happened today in Kentucky. They had 5 to 7 inches of rain, and again, that's possible tonight as we go through the rest of tonight, especially, I'd say, south of Rocky Mount into North Carolina. So be safe, everybody. I'll sign off for the evening, but stay weather aware, and things will clear out again after another bout of flash flooding, probably around 9 to 10. Then we'll have some rain around midnight. Then things will quiet down by sunrise tomorrow.